Hello, welcome to English for Everyone, where we practice real-life American English. Today we're going to learn some great vocabulary and some great pronunciation, so let's get started. Today we're talking about these two words, and they're pronounced exactly the same. Baloney. The first word is baloney, and the second word is baloney. The first vowel is the short sound, like cup and up, below. The second vowel is a long O, like no and go. Together, below. Baloney. The last vowel is a long E, like green beans. E, together, baloney. Baloney. And there are two ways we use these words, and the spelling is different depending on what you want to say. For example, baloney. This is baloney. It's a kind of meat that you put on a sandwich. It comes sliced. You can buy it in a package. This is Oscar Mayer bologna. It's also called lunch meat. It's a kind of lunch meat. So if I put bologna on my sandwich, it's called a bologna sandwich. Let's hear some examples.
You got bologna, bread, mayonnaise.
Your favorite, bologna and cheese.
That a bologna sandwich is a satisfactory meal.
We have bologna and cheese, apples, and graham crackers.
We're gonna make bologna sandwiches, I think.
We will now be serving bologna sandwiches.
Oh boy, bologna.
Man, it smells like burnt bologna and regrets down here.
You must have left him at the deli with the rest of the bologna and cheese.
Bologna sandwiches, man.
Bologna and cheese.
Example, if I make a sandwich, I prefer ham or turkey. I don't really like bologna. What about you? Do you like bologna? Very good. Do you make bologna sandwiches? Very good. And we have this baloney. It's spelled differently, but it has the same pronunciation. We use this spelling when you talk about something that is nonsense, something that is not true. If I don't believe your story, I can say, that's a bunch of baloney. You can also say, that's a bunch of BS. Now, BS stands for a bad word, bull-sh. But I don't want to use the bad word, so I can say, that's a bunch of BS. It's kind of strong, though. So it's better to say, baloney. It's the same idea. I think it's not true. I think it's nonsense. That's a bunch of baloney. And remember, a bunch of. A bunch of comes from a bunch of bananas or a bunch of grapes, but we use it to mean a lot of. It just means a lot of. So if I say, that's a bunch of baloney, that means that's a lot of nonsense. That's a lot of BS. It's not true. Let's hear some examples.
Bunch of baloney, I think.
You know, what we really need instead of this baloney is an assertiveness training class for Southern women.
Jesus, you know how I feel about this baloney?
But our guest of honor here today says that's just baloney.
You don't call it baloney and just tell each other how we really feel.
I agree, it's a bunch of baloney.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. Come on, that's baloney.
Now, what's all this baloney about you sleeping on the couch?
Example, the car salesman said Ford is the best car ever. He said it's the best car in the world. Do you believe that? I don't believe that. I think that's a bunch of baloney. Let's practice. What do you think? Do you believe the salesman? Do you believe Ford is the best car in the world? That's right. I don't believe it either. That's a bunch of baloney. So remember the pronunciation of these two words. Baloney and baloney, they're pronounced exactly the same. This is American English. I know in Italian it's Bologna, but this is not Italy, this is America, we say baloney. The first word is baloney and the second word is baloney, but they're used differently. Today we're going to practice with some commonly confused words. These are words that I've noticed my students get confused because they're kind of similar. And these words are shallow, hollow, swallow, and swollen. Let's take a close look at each one. First, let's look at shallow. The first syllable is the short ah sound, like in black cat. Ah, sha, shallow. To make this sound, put the tongue down in the front, behind the bottom teeth, and the tongue up in the back. Ah, sha, shallow. And smile a little bit. Ah, sha. Not too much, not sha, shallow. And the second syllable is the long O, like no and go. O. Shallow. Shallow is an adjective. We see in the picture, the boy is swimming in the shallow water, and the girl is swimming in the deep water. So shallow is the opposite of deep. Also, if you talk about swimming pools, usually swimming pools have two ends. They have a shallow end and they have a deep end. So the boy needs to stay in the shallow end because he's small and he can't swim very well. But the girl, she can go swim in the deep end. You're talking about the deep end of the pool. We just say the deep end. The girl can swim in the deep end, but the boy needs to stay in the shallow end. Let's practice. Does the boy need to stay in the shallow end? That's right. The boy needs to stay in the shallow end. He's not a very good swimmer. He's very young. And what about the girl? Can she swim in the deep end? That's right. She can swim in the deep end. She's older. She's a stronger swimmer. And this boy's standing in the water. He's standing in the shallow water. He's not standing in the deep water. He's standing in the shallow water. Let's practice. Is he standing in the shallow water or the deep water? That's right. He's standing in the shallow water. And we look at this sign. What does the sign mean? It means no diving. Diving is not allowed because the water is too shallow. You might get hurt. It's dangerous. Diving is not allowed because the water is too shallow. It's not safe. Let's practice. Is diving allowed? That's right. Diving is not allowed. Why not? That's right. Diving is not allowed because the water is too shallow. You can also describe a person. You can say a person is shallow. It means they have a superficial personality. They put importance on small things, things that are not very important. Example, this character from the movie American Beauty. If you haven't seen this movie, you should watch it. It's really good. And this character, this cheerleader, the one on the right, she knows that everybody thinks she's pretty. And that's what she thinks is important. That's the most important thing to her, being pretty. And she's always focused on it. She wants to become a model because she thinks she's so pretty. And she thinks that's the most important thing. So I can describe her and I can say she's shallow. She's a very shallow person. Let's practice. Is she shallow? That's right, she's shallow. Is she a very shallow person? That's right, she's a very shallow person. It's not a good thing. Now let's talk about hollow. Pronunciation, we use the sound ah, ha, hollow. The short ah sound like stop and hot, ha, hollow. The second syllable is the long o, like go and no. Together, hollow. Hollow is an adjective. It means empty inside. This is a hollow tree. Well, it used to be a tree. Now it's just a hollow tree trunk. The middle part of a tree is called a trunk. We see the TR making the ch sound. Trunk. This is a hollow tree trunk. And these mice have made a home in the hollow tree trunk. They live there now. It's their house. The mice have made a home in the hollow tree trunk. Remember, 1 mouse and 2 mice. Let's practice. Have the mice made a home in the hollow tree trunk? That's right. The mice have made a home in the hollow tree trunk. Another example, this book. This book is hollow, but someone made it like that. So I can say it's hollowed out. Pronounce the ED with a D sound, hollowed. Link it with the next word, out. Together, hollowed out. This is a hollowed out book. People use hollowed out books to hide things. It's like a secret hiding place. This is a hollowed out book. It's empty on the inside. Let's practice. What is this? Is this a hollowed out book? That's right. This is a hollowed out book. It's used for hiding things. And this word is swallow. It's a verb. It's an action. It means to do this. That is to swallow. Pronunciation, use the short ah sound like stop and hot. Swa. For the first syllable, swallow. The second syllable is the long O like no and go. O. Together, swallow. Swallow. Example, he's sick. He has a sore throat. What does that mean? That means his throat hurts. Well, it hurts when he swallows. It hurts when he swallows. Let's practice. Does he have a sore throat? That's right, he has a sore throat. Does it hurt when he swallows? That's right, it hurts when he swallows. Another example. What happens if you swallow gum? I heard that if you swallow gum, it stays in your stomach for 7 years. Then I Googled it and found out it's not really true. But people used to say that. What do you think? What do you think happens if you swallow gum? Very good. So you shouldn't do it. It's not a good idea. Don't swallow your gum. You shouldn't swallow your gum. Let's practice. Is it a good thing to swallow your gum? No, it's not a good thing to swallow your gum. Should you ever swallow your gum? That's right, you should never swallow your gum. Bad things can happen. And the verb swallow in the past? Swallowed. With a D sound, swallowed. Link the sounds. The monkey swallowed his gum. I think he did. Let's practice. Did the monkey swallow his gum? That's right, the monkey swallowed his gum. It's not good. Now let's talk about this word, swollen. Swollen is an adjective. For the first syllable, use the long O, like no and go. Swo. Swo. Len. Swollen. The second syllable is not stressed. It sounds like this. Len, swollen. Swollen. The adjective is swollen. Example, his foot is swollen. His right foot is swollen. And it's not a little swollen, it's really swollen. Let's practice. Is his right foot swollen? That's right, his right foot is swollen. Is it a little swollen or is it really swollen? That's right, it's really swollen. He needs to go to the doctor. Also remember, when you're talking about something that's swollen, you can also use the verb swell. And we usually use the verb swell with the preposition up, together making a phrasal verb, swell up. Swell up in the present and swelled up in the past. Link the sounds, swelled up. If I ask a question, I say, what happened to his foot? Did it swell up? And the answer is yes, his foot swelled up. Really bad. It swelled up a lot. Let's practice. Did his foot swell up? That's right, his foot swelled up a lot. So remember the difference between these confusing words. Shallow, hollow, swallow, and swollen. They're all different and they're all important vocabulary you need to know. Thank you for watching. And if you liked this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, click the join button. And we'll see you next time.